Welcome back to This Day. Joining me now is Barbara Siri with Concerned Citizens. And Barbara, thank you for being here today. It's so nice to meet you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and so before we get into everything, I just like to break the ice. And how's your summer going? Do you have any plans for Labor Day weekend?
No, we're staying home and off the roads. So just swimming and barbecue and maybe a couple of beers.
Oh, nice, nice. Yes, my son has a football game in Bakersfield on Friday.
Oh,
so
wow.
I'm like, really? Friday of Labor Day? Friday's bad enough anyway,
right.
But Labor Day weekend?
Right.
So, Barbara, tell me about the background of Concerned Citizens. Why, was this club created? Why is it needed?
Well, it was created, Concerned Citizens of Laguna Woods Village was started back in 1981, so I think we're one of the oldest clubs in the village. And it was started to oppose nuclear proliferation, and it's gone on to take on issues like social justice and a clean environment. I mean, enormous, important topics. And what we do, I'm program chair, so what we do, we have 2 events per month, which is a lot for a club. But there's so much to talk about. There's so many interesting things happening with this that we really feel we can make a contribution and a difference. And our speakers are generally scholars and academics from our local universities and colleges. We really have an embarrassment of riches in Orange County with the kind of people, high quality, serious people that we can bring in to educate our population. So it's really fantastic. Those are Tuesday nights. On Thursday afternoons, we generally have a documentary, and those are all really well attended and popular also.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, it's definitely good to get educated and to hear from professionals in the industry and what they, have to say. So I love it. So you have a guest speaker coming up.
We do. I'm so excited about this.
So tell me about this event.
Okay, this is going to be Tuesday night, first Tuesday of the month. That's when we always bring in our speaker. This will be September 5th at 7 p.m. in Clubhouse 1. This is Professor Mario Barnes. He's a constitutional law professor at UCI School of Law, and his scholarship pretty much covers race and gender studies, especially as it concerns employment, education, criminal, and military law. He came and spoke last year. He was a big hit. He's very dynamic, and he talked about critical race theory, which drew a huge crowd because it is so misunderstood. And by the way, it is only taught at the graduate level, not at the undergraduate, like in the fever brains of some politicians. It is not taught to grammar school children. And it is a complex topic. It deserves our attention, and he really helped clarify it. So this year, he's going to do the Supreme Court in review. But before I get to that, let me just tell you about his background a little bit. He's a UC Berkeley student in both undergraduate and his law degree from UC Berkeley, and he spent something like 12 years active duty in the Navy. So this guy has been in the real world, and another 11 in reserve service. And he was on the commission to investigate the USS Cole suicide bombing attack back in the 90s. And this was the first time we had heard about Al-Qaeda, and the first time I think somebody like me had heard about Osama bin Laden. It was a major event, and we lost 17 sailors in that crisis. So he's had some really serious, responsible jobs in the past, and we are so looking forward to having him as our legal eagle. I hope we get to have him every year. But as I said, it'll be Tuesday. And what he's going to talk about is this last term in the Supreme Court, 22 and 23. And he'll give us an overview and the potential consequences of some of these decisions, which were quite serious. And he'll also generally, I think, or I will ask him to, discuss the financial scandals that have gone on in the Supreme Court. So there's a lot to talk about. And if I may quote Harvard Law professor Lawrence Tribe, who says there's a growing consensus, not just among liberals, but even among conservatives, that the Supreme Court has lost its claim to legitimacy. And it's such a serious charge because we desperately, badly need an independent judiciary, free from political influence, because we need a check against the concentrated power from either political party, Democrat or Republican. So this year, I mean, the Supreme Court gets like 7,000 petitions to hear, and I think they decide about 100. Jonathan may tell me I'm not quite accurate in that, but that's generally what they do. So they have an enormous docket. But there were 6 this year that were critically important, and he'll go over those 6. Things like the end of affirmative action and what that will do both in private colleges and public colleges. And that was a supermajority decision, 6-3, that said we are going to end affirmative action. And then at the same, around the same time, the court also ended the student debt burden that Biden was trying to relieve, claiming that Congress never authorized it. So this is 2 major impacts on our young population, especially Black and Hispanic population, and other students who are really burdened with all of this debt. And Sonia Sotomayor, who usually is, just the center of politeness, wrote a heartfelt opposition to the decision, saying that this rolls back the affirmative action decision to end affirmative action. It rolls back decades of precedents and momentous progress. It holds that race can no longer be used in a limited way in college admissions to achieve such critical benefits. So, these have long-term consequences. The other thing about a couple of the cases, and tell me what my time is, so I don't go on too long.
We have a couple minutes left. Just 2 minutes.
Do all of these cases that are brought have standing? In other words, is the plaintiff, has he or she been directly hurt? Do they have a direct stake in the decision of the court? And in this one with affirmative action, they did not. Nor did they in the wedding website, Lori Smith's website, where she claimed that she should not be forced to do a wedding website for a same-sex couple. It turns out that no same-sex couple had ever approached her. So why was she allowed to bring this, case to court? And that has all sorts of implications also. So they're all really important, which isn't to say that there wasn't some good news too with the court. They forced the state of Alabama to have a Black majority voting district. And they also said that state legislatures could not, had no check on their power, so that the state Supreme Court could not oversee or alter a decision they made, especially when they draw district maps or when they select presidential electors. So it's really critical stuff.
Okay, gosh, a lot of information. I appreciate you telling us all that. Quickly wanted to ask, the court is young and they may be on the court for decades. So if American people are unhappy with this, with that, is there anything that they can do? Well,
there's several options that constitutional law professors maintain we could do. And one is put on life term limits. And Lawrence Tribe thinks that's actually doable. The other is increase the court's number to 13, from 9 to 13, because in the past the courts had any number of different jurors on it. You could also make it easier to amend the Constitution so that you could perhaps override or alter. Are we running out of time? Okay.
Yeah.
And of course, there's always executive action that President Biden is trying to take to mitigate some of the impacts of the court. So it's really exciting, it's really consequential, impactful in our lives, and it's worth coming out and hearing this scholar who's so articulate and clear and compassionate when he talks about what we all face with the court.
Well, thank you, Barbara. Yeah, it sounds like a very educational event. So definitely, thank you so much for coming here today to tell us about it.
My pleasure.
Looking forward to that.
Thank you for having me.